How's it going, everybody? Today is Wednesday, so that means we have the Ronald Jones film breakdown here on the RGR Football channel. My name is Daniel Harms. Make sure you hit that like, the bell, and the sub notification. That way you get everything that Ryan and I do, and Ryan and I and everybody here at the RGR Football channel do on a weekly, daily, down to the live basis, because there's been a lot of news going on. So Ronald Jones now in the fold at running back for the Kansas City Chiefs. I imagine behind Clyde Edwards-Helaire to start, and we're going to see what ends up unfolding. There's going to be a camp battle between Ronald Jones and Clyde, in my opinion, to see who's going to be the starter. And a lot of the things that Ronald Jones struggled with in Tampa Bay are a little bit of the things that Clyde struggled with in Kansas City in his rookie contract campaign. And now I think that a change of scenery can definitely help Ronald Jones, especially in this offense. With Bruce Arians not being the best head coach to really cherish and grow young players, Ronald Jones is definitely has a lot of raw ability. You can see it on his tape when you turn it on. It's very obvious. So let's go ahead and get into it so we can kind of break down the player that the Chiefs just got. So one of the things that I really did notice is that while Ronald Jones's vision can be sporadic at times, he seems to understand where he wants to go with the football. His body lean is quite good, and at the end of the day, his athletic ability is what deters him from getting to some of the holes that he wants to get to. Like this one, for example, is a good read. He sees the cutback lane on the left side. He definitely fits more of a zone type of scheme, which makes a lot of sense. I don't think he personally trusts his outside burst very much, which can be a problem. We've seen that in Kansas City with Clyde to an extent, them using the players outside of what they're comfortable with. And I think that Ronald has some of that deeper speed, especially on some of his longer runs, that he's got some burst. And again, seeing that vision to cut back to the other side is more of a zone scheme type of play. So if the Chiefs want to get back to some of their zone runs, Jones makes a lot of sense. Granted, so does Clyde to an extent, in terms of running that power that they have. So it really kind of depends on who they want to be their guy who ends up winning where they want to run more of these. Because I do think that power makes more sense with Clyde than it does for Ronald Jones. Again, that vision showing up there. And this is what I'm talking about with some of that outside burst. He just doesn't really trust it. See, he reads and cuts right into a gap that isn't there. This is one of those areas where I'd like him to get a little bit better. So you're going to see this happen a lot. So he does this where he cuts back. But you see a lot of running backs, I've seen Jones do it himself, where he'll press this gap but bounce it outside instead, where he probably should go. I know you've got linebackers here, but you should be able to burst past a linebacker in open space. There's a lot of space to work with. You should also be able to make him miss, which he has that ability as well in the open field to string some moves together and get himself free. But instead, he just tries to cut up through that tight end spot and ends up going nowhere. I want to see a little bit more to the outside because he does have speed. He's probably a 4.5 running back at this point in his career. Lost a little bit after he's got some hamstring issues right before the combine, but it looks to me like he doesn't have that 4.4 speed that he was really looking to have in college. Maybe that has to do with some of the injuries and or workload that he had. But right here, just take that outside. That's what you should be doing. Like I said, I know you've got linebackers filling, but if you bounce it and accelerate, you should beat both of these guys. Maybe not Smith to an extent because he's a much better downhill athlete, but you still are running into these guys for no real reason. I would like to see him bounce it a little bit more. Trust your burst. He does have burst when he really commits to something and gets upfield, and as a downfield runner, he has that burst and he's shown it. So that's what I want to see. And another area really that we've seen him struggle is the pass catching. It's tough to watch sometimes. I think that's been one of the biggest bugaboos in his career at Tampa Bay, not being a reliable pass catcher, along with some fumbling issues here and there. He's lost 6 out of his career 7 fumbles. That's not a great percentage by any stretch, and he just doesn't hold on to the football very, very well. That's something that you see here. He just doesn't really look it all the way in, and he lets it travel all the way to his body and just like bounces off of his chest. That you need to attack the ball with your hands as a pass catcher. some things that the Chiefs are going to have to figure out is who do they want in the backfield on these third downs. Right now you have Ronald Jones and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They don't seem to trust Clyde to take on that pass catching / pass protection mantle. But Ronald Jones was even worse, in my opinion, as those two things in Tampa Bay. And they didn't even trust him to be on the field. That's why they brought in Giovanni Bernard last year. And the year before that, they brought in LeSean McCoy to take those duties. They don't want Ronald Jones in protecting the quarterback and in those situations. And that's why Leonard Fournette took them all over, too. They had options to take away Ronald Jones from the pass catching and pass protection duties. So the Chiefs now have to figure out, does he finally take that step? Does he have a good offseason, finally have a healthy offseason? And do you feel comfortable enough with both of these guys on pass catching situations that you're going to have basically a duel in training camp to see who's going to be the guy? I'm not there yet. I haven't seen enough from Clyde in that department. He's a much better route runner and pass catcher than Ronald Jones is. So I think he has the edge in that department. But this is really where he becomes valuable. So he can string together some moves in the open field, and you see he's strung a couple stiff arms at the line of scrimmage and getting through into that second and third level. So he makes one man miss there, and then he finds some space, and he's a dynamic mover. He's got quick feet. He doesn't hesitate with his moves. He's more of a shimmier behind the line of scrimmage. He will hesitate at times with his vision, but when he's getting into space, he can figure it out. He can shimmy, he can shake, he can spin, he can stiff arm, he can truck, he can do a lot of different things that you like in the open field that a lot of guys just don't have the ability to do. Again, stiff arm, stiff arm, stiff arm, stiff arm. Let's count them real quick. But first off, you see this again, trajectory. He's off this way, keeps shoulder square with this inside move here. Really inviting this defensive tackle. I think this is Jerry Tillery. Inward. And then he cuts it outside with a little bit of stiff arm. And then stiff arm again and stiff arm. And then we have a little bit of deceleration, acceleration, and jump cut. He does have a lot of athletic ability and lateral agility, things that you like, things that really show and pop on tape. Those are the things that I really do enjoy. The problem is his lateral agility to me, I can only see it in the open field. This is the kind of stuff that he does a lot. He runs into his offensive tackles. There's so much room to move, and he hugs too close to that offensive line. And then he doesn't have he's got the really of an moment, and he's trying to get back to that hole that he saw. Again, vision is one thing, and his body's not letting him do it because he hugs too tight to that offensive line. And then by the time he gets into that spot where he's trying to get over to that cutback lane, he's just a little late. So it's an inconsistent thing. But look at the push on the offensive line. Like, there's so much time. And again, he's right behind Rob Gronkowski. Like, you got to get all the way back here. Look at all this open space. And instead, he ends up running into Alex Kappa. And then he can't get into the gigantic hole that they created. And he also saw it a little bit too late. He makes the defensive tackle move, the offensive line move, everything. He does it all right. And then his body is like, you can't get there. You're right behind this big hulking tight end. But this is the thing that everybody wanted to see from Ronald Jones. And outside of it being, one of those where the guy who could have tackled him just kind of stopped and dove at his legs. But he's got deep speed. He does have deep speed, guys, in terms of keeping the deep speed. This is about as fast as he'll be the rest of his career. I think that's what we're seeing. But we don't. Here's another problem with this whole thing. In Kansas City, you have this. You have two deep safeties. So while this play is awesome, and I'm going to get into a little bit more of the technical aspect of it here in a second, this probably won't happen in Kansas City, but the fact that he has it on his tape into some of those holes and able to get into open space, accelerate through, and pull away from the majority of everybody is enticing. And this is the end zone view, which you really want to see. Again, hug the cluster here. They do an excellent job of keeping him clean too, by the way, allowing him to cut inside, upside, wherever he wants to. And this is some of those stringing visions. So he's going to cut to the left. This safety is going to kind of over pursue, and then he's just going to cut back inside and go straight up. He hugs his offensive line very tightly, just about everywhere, all the time. That's why you see he's able to even get up there. He just kind of runs into where Alex Kappa was, hoping he would get out of his way. And then from there, it's all over. So he does have all of the things you're looking for with regard to being able to identify and explode through holes, run downhill, and create some big plays. He's lacking in the pass protection department. He's lacking in the pass catching department. And I think that behind the line of scrimmage, for whatever reason, he is lacking a little bit in that lateral agility. And again, he hugs the offensive line a little bit too much. We've seen Clyde do a lot of that too. So right now, these two backs are going to be fighting it out in training camp to see who's going to be the guy. I think that can be the best situation for both, whether it ends up being Ronald Jones or Clyde Edwards-Helaire. These two guys can really push each other to become the best versions of themselves. Granted, when that happened in Tampa Bay, Ronald Jones kind of folded and Leonard Fournette just took over. That's something I'm hoping doesn't happen to either of these guys, because to be in today's NFL, having two backs that can handle workloads and pass off workloads and things like that and keep each other fresh is very, very important. So high upside type of player, and Ronald Jones that you're taking on a 1 year, I think, if I'm wrong about that, I apologize, but you're still trying, really just experimenting with Ronald Jones to see if you can get something out of him. At the very least, you try to retain him for the next couple of years, and you're looking at a player that maybe has more of that legitimate number one, first and second down upside. So Ronald Jones has a lot of the things you like to see in the open field, the moves and everything like that, that he can make guys miss, run guys over, just kind of find ways to create more yards after contact. So definitely an intriguing pickup. I'm excited to see how this ends up working out. And again, I hope you guys hit the like, the bell, and the sub for this channel, because we are continuing to crank out content. There is nothing here that we don't do. We try to go live whenever anything happens. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about either Marquez Valdes-Scantling or Ronald Jones, you can ask me in the comment section. You can reach out on Twitter at InHarmsWay19. But don't forget, this is where we do the most and the best Chiefs coverage on the internet. You guys have a great day.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.